It's always fun, and I enjoy doing these mini-series about an artist where we can cover his progress through the decades. But when we reach the present day, when we reach the last episode in that mini-series, it's always a little bit bittersweet. It's fun to remember, but it's sort of like, gee, what's going to happen next? Well, I'm sure we will find out. We've been looking at the music of Bruce Springsteen over the decades. And we started with the music he recorded in the 70s. And then there were the 80s. And the albums he put out in the 90s. And in the decade of the 2000s. And we covered 2010. Quite an incredible amount of work from the boss out of New Jersey. But now we're going to turn to 2020 up to the present. And we'll see what Bruce is up to. And maybe we'll get a glimmer of what's coming next. You ready? All right, let's go down those back streets again with Bruce. Let's drop the needle. As this decade begins, Bruce, like all of us, is locked down with COVID. But he had recorded with the E Street Band, so he used the time of the lockdown to mix an album that comes out in 2020, and it's called A Letter to You. Bruce has said that this is the only album where the entire band is playing together at one time, and everything, including the vocals, are live. The album concerns issues like aging and death. I like the title, A Letter to You, Janie Needs a Shooter, The Power of Prayer, House of a Thousand Guitars, and the closer, I'll See You in My Dreams. The album got rave reviews. It hit number 2 in the US and the UK, making it Bruce's 21st top 10 album in the US. In 2021, Bruce finally releases the live album of his and the E Street Band's incredible performance at the No Nukes concert in 1979. This is his full set list. Now, only a couple of these songs were released previously, Stay and Detroit Medley, on the No Nukes, the Muse Concerts for a Non-Nuclear Future back in 1980. But here is the full concert. So at last we get to hear Bruce and the E Street Band in all of their glory, and this concert lives up to its name. It is legendary. There are 13 tracks on the album, and they're all great. But if I had to narrow it down, I would have to say Badlands, Thunder Road, of course, Jungle Land, Rosalita Come Out Tonight, which actually starts with a bit of Stagger Lee as an introduction, Born to Run, Quarter to Three, and Rave On. But like I said, they're all great tracks. And the album hits 11 in the UK and 33 in the US. Since Bruce couldn't tour in 2021, he announces that instead he's going to do a podcast. And he invites a very special co-host to do it with him. And that would be former President Barack Obama. And the podcast is called Renegades. And in it, Bruce and Barack discuss music, family, marriage, the U.S. It's a pretty fascinating podcast. And here's the link to it in case you're interested in catching it. In 2022, Bruce releases his 21st studio album, Only the Strong Survive. This is a cover of R&B and soul songs. Bruce said he wanted to do justice to these songs, so he really focused on singing them well. There are no members of the E Street Band on this album, but there is a horn section and strings. Bruce, besides singing of course, plays some keyboards and guitar. I like Only the Strong Survive, Soul Days, Do I Love You, Indeed I Do, When She Was My Girl, Hey Western Union Man, I Wish It Would Rain, What Becomes of the Brokenhearted, and Someday We'll Be Together. Critics love this, and it hit number 2 in the UK and 8 in the US. Finally, in 2023, Bruce can once again tour, so he grabs the E Street Band and they go out on an extended international tour. And then just recently, here in 2024, Bruce releases his 8th compilation album. He looks back again on his career and releases an album called Best of Bruce Springsteen. It contains songs from his entire career, and the cover was taken from the Born to Run photo shoot. But as a compilation album, it could only reach 121 in the US and 15 in the UK. Now, as usual, I've created a Spotify playlist where you can listen to some of the songs that I've talked about in this episode. And here's the link, and I'll also put it in the comments below. The 4 albums that Bruce has released so far, starting in 1920, are the legendary concerts, the No Nuke concerts in 1979, A Letter to You, Only the Strong Survive, and Best of Bruce Springsteen. We'll add those 4 albums to our tally. So here's what he did in the 70s. That would be 5. In the 80s, 5. In the 90s, 6. The decade of 2007. The decade of 2010, 6. And so far, in the 2020s, 4. Giving us a grand total of 34 albums. Wow, lots of great music there. And with Bruce Springsteen, if you haven't had a chance to see him live, you got to. And if you have, you know what I'm talking about. He is a phenomenal performer, and he's given us a lot of great memories over the years. This has been a fun series to do. I hope you enjoyed it. Bruce, thank you for the music, and thank you for watching. Until next time, keep it rocking.
If you liked this episode, hit the like button, and you can also leave me a comment down below, and I'll respond to you. If you subscribe, we'll let you know when future episodes come out.